Joining me on the Room Podcast tonight is Placido Santos, who's making his kickboxing debut this Saturday at Enigma Promotions, Enigma Kickboxing. You don't want to miss it. The dude's stepping in there for the first time, and we can't wait to see so much for coming on, man, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Steve, and I just want to say I really appreciate what you're doing for the local martial arts community, bringing attention to it, and being so passionate about, all the events that are getting put on and all the local athletes. I see you showing up in person and always being so passionate about it, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the local martial arts community.
Thanks, my friend. People like you coming on makes it all worthwhile, man. Picking your brain and learning kind of your story and what the future holds for you. So, my man, from jiu-jitsu to kickboxing, how does this happen? How'd you get inspired to get in the ring for the first time in front of, it's going to be a huge crowd and streamed on the Enigma Promotion website?
So, great question. It's kind of a, not a super long story, but longer story short, going to New York City and learning from Professor John Danaher. John would also teach MMA classes, which obviously would incorporate striking into the class, and something you don't obviously have in jiu-jitsu class. So myself being inquisitive and curious and wanting to, see what John was teaching, I would sit down and watch John teach MMA, whether that was before jiu-jitsu practice or after jiu-jitsu practice sometimes. When I'd see John talk about striking and his methodologies, I just became very intrigued and fascinated by it all, really. And the idea of being incompetent in a form of fighting, whether, that be grappling or striking, is something that John says he doesn't like. He doesn't like walking around knowing that, he can't throw hands. So I'm kind of the same mindset. So I started to try about maybe a little bit less than a year ago to right around a year ago is when I started jumping into John's MMA class and I started out with drilling first. And then after the drilling, I actually started jumping in with the sparring. So striking is something that just kind of I fell in love with once I started watching John teach MMA. So that's how I kind of came to this point. And I've had a lot of people tell me, hey man, you should jump in a cage sometime, you'd do great. And in order for me to be fully confident in ever doing something like that, like jumping in an MMA cage, I want to be able to be confident that I'm at least competent in, all the art forms that encompass MMA, and striking is definitely a huge part of that. I've seen too many times where people, just because they're good at jiu-jitsu or wrestling, jump into the cage and they think that just because they're good at those martial arts and those disciplines, they'll be just fine. But, those are huge weaknesses and holes in your game if you're not, you're not adept at the other martial arts that also come into play in the cage, right? So same thing happens with strikers. Some strikers who, just because they're good at striking, they think, oh, I'll manage it with grappling, and they don't really take time to learn grappling. So that's kind of why I'm doing this kickboxing match. I've really been, just throwing myself into learning striking, whether I do eventually end up in a cage or whether I just become, some sort of a mixed martial arts coach in the future, God knows, but that's what's happening and that's what I'm doing.
Excellent. Well, you spoke about John and getting, the MMA classes, learning striking there. You know a ton of MMA fighters in the New England area. You train with a ton of them. Have you been getting work on the side, getting some sparring sessions with people around the New England area?
Yeah, great question. So I have people ask me all the time, I was like, where do you train? And it's hard to tell people and explain to people, I don't really train at one specific spot. Yeah. I just kind of bounce around to whatever training partners want to help me out on that given day, which, to be honest with you, it can be a challenge. It's a blessing and a curse in many ways. It's a curse because it's a challenge some days, and I'm driving a lot. And sometimes it creates a level of inconsistency, right? So But at the same time, a blessing because I get to work on what I want to work on, which is what I learned from John. So essentially, kind of how it goes is, I would go to New York, now Puerto Rico for the time being, and, I'll get information from John, and then I'll come back and, really work on what I learned. And I'd say about 80 to 90% of what I know about striking I learned from John, and then the other 10 to 20% is from training partners around me, or also YouTube too. There's a lot to learn on YouTube.
Oh, of course, man. I learned how to podcast on YouTube. You know what I
That's
mean?
awesome. Yeah.
So, my friend, you're going to be performing in front of a huge crowd in New England, and for a friend, Enigma Promotions is Christos Papadelos' promotion, and you spoke about seeing me at events, and the majority of the events have been from Christos, either the Enigma Invitationals or the kickboxing coming up, the first one this Saturday, man. So he's doing great things. What's the connection with you and Christos, and how you got involved with this event as your first opportunity?
With Christos, I met Christos about I don't know how long it's been since I met Christos. I think it's been at least a couple years now. A fascinating young kid in terms of being so ambitious at such a young age. Real definition of a go-getter. He doesn't let things stop him. Things such as inexperience. He doesn't care about that. He's just out there to figure it out and get it done. And thankfully, because of where life has taken me, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of very successful people. And that's one thing I've learned that successful people have in common, is that they have that go-getter mentality. They just get it done. They'll figure it out on the fly if they have to. So, Christos is really impressive in that way. And I met him because he reached out to me because he wanted to, have better training partners with jiu-jitsu. So he reached out to me, and he told me he was interested in training with me. So that's kind of how we touched base and we met. And then in terms of getting on his promotion, Christos just knew he wanted to throw a kickboxing promotion. He knew what I was doing at the time. He knew I was very interested in learning striking and just developing it. So, obviously it was a natural fit to have me on his card.
Well, you've trained BJJ with, the best and some of the best BJJ practitioners in the world. John, the most famous coach, I would imagine, in the world in BJJ, man. What's the mindset going into, from training BJJ to stepping into the ring in kickboxing for the first time? I mean, you're extremely confident on the mats. You've proven it there. But what's the mentality going into something that you're not proven in yet?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, the reason I am doing so I've had people, even Crystals himself, tell me, "Hey, man, you should just do that. You should do some amateur MMA." Which you have to understand, the specific reason I'm doing a kickboxing smoker is because I want to take myself out of my comfort zone. I want to take myself out of my go-to toolbox, right? So, kind of the way I explained to Christos is like, these smokers are going to be gold for me, because if I ever do jump in an MMA cage, I want to be able to take it to the ground if I want to take it to the ground. I don't want to feel like I have to take it to the ground. Does that make sense? If I have no opportunity if I don't take it to the ground. So in terms of my mentality coming into this, so first off, I know I'm stepping out of my comfort zone into something that is not necessarily my strength at the given moment. At this point in time, I have 7 years of jiu-jitsu under my belt. So, and 1 year of striking. So 1/7 the amount of the experience. With that said, simultaneously to that, I am very confident stepping into the ring. I always entertain the possibility that I could lose. It's not impossible for me to lose. I'm not saying that, I'm going to wreck this guy and, it's not even going to be a fight. No, if anything, like, I'm getting ready for the 5-round bout, I'm not looking to, just have a 2-round bout. If that happens to occur, then definitely I'll take it. But I'm ready for 5. I'm ready for 5 rounds. Okay, So jumping into the to the ring this time, it's at the same time I'm very confident because John has really shown us how to develop skill sets at a very rapid speed of improvement. And because of that, and because of the amount of time and the amount of effort I know I've put in and seen how much I've progressed, I don't feel like somebody who only has a year of experience. I do feel like I've accumulated enough knowledge and skill at this point where it surpasses a year of experience, but that'll remain to be seen on Saturday.
Excellent. Well, it is a smoker. It's an exhibition. I mean, you guys are going to be going at it. I mean, you're not going to be doing, patty cake in there. You guys are going to be, getting the work and really laying it on each other. You're taking on another jiu-jitsu guy. So I think this might be his debut. Has Doug fought in the ring before? Is this his first time stepping in there?
Yeah, so obviously doing homework on your opponent, I looked up on YouTube and I saw that he has had other kickboxing matches, maybe at least one match at the very least in the past. I think it was it was pre-COVID, so he does have a kickboxing match already on YouTube. So it does seem like, I don't know, perhaps safe to assume that he has been practicing striking for like 2 or 3 years now. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. At this point in time, it honestly doesn't matter because I already agreed to the bout and we're less than a week out. So, but it does seem like he does have at least one fight experience. That one didn't have headgear in it. I wish this fight didn't have headgear in it. I tried to ask Christos to take out the headgear, but he wouldn't budge. He wouldn't do it. So, but it's his promotion. He can run it however he wants, right? Yeah, if I want to do it my way, then I'll have to run my own promotion.
Things can change real quick at fight night, so we never know. But commissions, all that. We don't want to stir the pot. But so taking on Doug, man. So what do you see in his kickboxing match that you watched? Did he win, lose? How did he do? How did he look in there?
He did win. The match I watched, he did win. He was very aggressive coming forward. His other opponent did also seem to be taller than him. I'm taller than Doug is. So his other opponent did seem to be taller than him, which didn't seem to obviously faze Doug, since Doug did go on to win the match and definitely outstruck the other guy. And he has a very aggressive press forward type of style. So it's definitely something I'll be taking into account.
Excellent. Well, we know as being a competitor on the mats, your cardio is through the roof. Sometimes you're on there 25, 30, 40. I mean, some jiu-jitsu guys an hour on the mats. Is there a difference in like the cardio, the breathing, saving yourself for different moments? Is there a mentality, a thought process that goes into the change up there?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, what people don't understand is that one of the things that so this is something you see often. You'll see people who practice one discipline and they can like literally go for hours and hours in that one discipline, whether it's grappling based discipline or striking based discipline. And then all of a sudden, when you switch that same athlete to a different discipline, that they exhibit such great endurance in their previous discipline, all of a sudden they're gassing out within 5 minutes, right? So it's a completely different type of skill set, and therefore calls for a completely different way of exhibiting efficiency. So a lot of times it's not a matter of whether your cardio is good or bad. Like you just mentioned, I'm somebody who, even previous to practicing kickboxing, I would be spending 30, 40 minutes rolling. So obviously it's not that my cardio is quote unquote bad. I do have decent cardio, as does most competitive jiu-jitsu athletes. And one of the reasons why a lot of grapplers struggle with striking and they tend to quote unquote gas out is not because their cardio is bad, it's because they're so inefficient, right? So if you can develop the skill of efficiency the same way you did with grappling, right? You watch a newbie come into the grappling class and he's absolutely exhausted after 1 5-minute roll. And the jiu-jitsu guy's like, let's go for another 5 rolls. Like, we're good to go, right? So it's the same thing that when it comes to kickboxing and striking, you have to learn how to be efficient in that skill set. And so obviously that's something that I've put a lot of time into. And it's something that I feel very confident in, that if this does go 5 rounds, that hopefully I'll be able to exhibit enough efficiency where I still have gas in the tank in the 5th.
Excellent. Well, dude, who's going to be in your corner? There's so many to choose from. Guys that, helped you around New England, big names, but, who's going to be helping you and giving you the controls out there to take him out, hopefully.
So in my corner, I'm going to definitely have Nick Fiore. He's somebody I've trained extensively with in the past. He's not someone that I've trained with a lot as of late. Lately, Nick has been preparing for an MMA event, for an MMA fight he has on August 6th for CES MMA in Springfield, Massachusetts. And so he's been training a lot with Rob Font and Calvin Cater. And so he's been, focusing on that a lot. And I haven't necessarily had the opportunity to train with him as of late. As much as I have in times past. But with that said, I do trust Nick a lot. One of the things I love about Nick is that he has first off, he understands me. He knows what the type of mindset that I want to bring into the ring, which is a very calm, collected, calculated mindset. Wow, I didn't even plan that out. That sounded really good. That was like the 3 C's. All right.
You got to train. That's going to be a catchphrase somewhere. Make a shirt with that.
Yeah, exactly. But Nick understands what, the type of coaching that I like and the type of instruction that works best for me. So he's going to be my corner. He's going to be my head corner, the way if I could call it that. And because I trust him. I trust his discernment. I trust his ability to be a calm, collected corner. I don't really like being cornered by somebody that's just yelling and screaming and telling me, like, hit him harder. Like, I'm already trying to hit him, and I'm trying to hit him hard.
Yeah,
so you don't have to tell me that again.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
Exactly. All that type of stuff. Like, I don't need a cheerleader. Like, the cheerleaders will be in the crowd.
Well, one thing I know, Nick was at a previous Smoker kickboxing event put on by a friend of Christos, and he cornered Connor Hughes, I do believe. In that kickboxing, I want to say that, and very calm. And Connor had a finish in that kickboxing match, I do believe.
Yeah, he did have a finish in that kickboxing match. Connor is one of my more regular training partners as of late, so I was really happy to see Connor go in and get the finish. That's really cool to see somebody that you're training with go out and perform successfully. So, going back to our original point, Nick is an excellent corner. So I'll have Nick Fiore in the corner. I'll have my friend Ivan, who has helped me a lot lately. And, I don't know how many corners we get, but if we get 3, then I'll throw Connor in there because the kid could use a bone,
I don't know. He might be on the camera in your face that whole time. I mean, he might have to hand that off because I got to say, Enigma and Christos put on a fabulous show. They make it and make the competitors seem like they're in something really special with the crowd, the stream, and just all the everything he does for the fighters. It really exposes it. And dude, for your first time in there, man, it's going to be a great experience. I mean, we've seen it in the past at Team Link in Hooksett. I mean, the crowd, even though it's a small kind of intimate crowd, man, they are loud and the energy in there is fire, man. So are you you've been on the mats in front of, so many thousands of people, streams and stuff like that. Is there nerves fighting in front of like a little intimate crowd for your first time in there, kickboxing?
Yeah, of course. I fully expect to be nervous heading into the ring. But that's completely normal. So you ever heard the parable of the plank?
No, explain it to me. I might have, but refresh me.
So the parable of the plank is like this story that Professor John Danaher likes to tell us about concerning, mental preparation for a bout. And he talks about how when he was a kid in New Zealand, he had this daredevil visited his school when he was a kid, and he performed all these amazing stunts and feats. And then one of the cool stunts that he did was he went, in a 2 or 3 story building, which to them was like, oh my word, this is amazing. And he put a plank between the 2 buildings, and he was walking back and forth between the 2 buildings. And like, as kids in New Zealand, they were absolutely like enthralled, and they were like, wow, this is glorious what this man is doing. And so after the fact, I guess they got around to asking the guy, like, how do you do this? Like, how do you keep it together? And he's like, he takes the plank. And I'm kind of, please understand, I'm kind of paraphrasing the entire parable. Like, if you want to read it in its entirety, I think John made a post on it in the past. But the guy takes the plank and he places it on the floor, and he says, you have to recognize and realize that this plank, if you're able to walk on this plank here when it's on the floor, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to walk on it when it's up there between 2 buildings, because nothing has changed. So it's kind of the idea, understanding that you're essentially performing the exact same thing you're doing every single day. And that is if you're practicing, the way you ought to be, right? So when I go to the ring, will I be nervous? 100% I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to have another dude standing across from me trying to punch me in the face, right? So yes, I will be nervous. At the same time, I do take comfort in knowing that this is something that I've prepared for and something I've been doing every single day for the past, however many months and into the last year or so. Okay. So that's kind of the mentality I take going into it. I don't try to suppress the nerves. Everybody's different. Some people try to suppress the nerves. I don't try to suppress the nerves. I try to embrace the nerves. I know that that's my body getting ready to rock and roll.
Excellent. Well, last question before I let you give your shout outs and any thank yous, sponsors or anything you want to shout out there. John, you're heading into that ring. Does he know that you're going to be going in and having your first bout? Because he's the one that inspired you as far as, not only jiu-jitsu, but, doing MMA, getting that striking in. So does he know about this bout happening Saturday? And what's his thought about, Placido going in there?
Yeah, I just finished last week. I was with him from Monday to Friday. We were filming for a new instructional that he has coming out, and over 10 hours of footage. So those are long weeks, and, we literally spend from morning to night together. So yeah, he does know I have that bout coming in, and he thinks it's smart. He thinks that if I really do ever want to jump in an MMA ring, or even just be a coach, he says either way, this is a very smart move on my part, because it's going to allow me to build experience in something that I have no experience in at the moment, right? So, again, going back to, even if I never do end up jumping in an MMA cage, I'll at least know what it's like to be in a competitive striking situation, which, is invaluable when you're looking to coach other young athletes that are going to be in the same type of context.
Excellent, my man. Well, dude, appreciate the chat and all about this journey to get into that ring this coming Saturday. Last thing, man, shout out sponsors, social media, and also I'll shout out how we can watch this, because I know they have a stream if you have that information.
Yeah, so how you can watch it, I'm pretty sure Enigma has a subscription service that you can sign up to after the fact. So definitely sign up for that and support the local promoter, Christos Papadelos, and that. He's doing a really good thing. It's not expensive either. I think it's like $5 a month or something like that. So definitely go ahead and support that. As far as shout-outs goes for sponsors, let me see. I just so happen to have
a whole list.
Shout out to Level Black for recently sponsoring me. I just so happened to have some of their new stuff they sent me. So on the table. I didn't even plan this, but shout out to Level Black for sponsoring me and for being awesome and sending me some dope gear that I'm really excited to continue to rock in the future. And, shout out to all my training partners. You know who you are. There's too many to name, honestly, off the top of my head. And to my wife as well. And shout out to my professor, John Danaher, who without him, I wouldn't know half the things I know right now.
Excellent, man. Well, there's going to be streams and there's going to be phones taking recordings, man. He's going to get to see this fight probably live. I mean, if he tunes into any social media, because you're going to be all over it. This is like, the only event going on in New England as far as this weekend, and it's a great event. I mean, Enigma Promotions and Christos really do a great job, and man, it's something that folks need to experience as far as going to a smoker, going to a local show, and seeing dudes like my guest right here who is going into uncharted territory to prove himself and to, man, get his hand raised, hopefully this Saturday night. So, Placido, man, I probably said your name wrong or different about 7
It's all
times.
good. It's all
Dude,
good. It's no
I,
worries.
I say my own name wrong, shit, and so I appreciate you coming on, and I'll be there Saturday. I think I'll be calling your fights and the fights leading up to it. So, man, I can't wait to see you do work in there and all you've been talking about, and see what transpires on Saturday.
Steve, thanks again for everything you do for the local martial arts community. You're awesome.
Thanks, my man. You have a great night, and I'll see you in a few days.
All right. Bye-bye, my friend.